What is going on, people? It's Matt from Liquid Loans, and in this video, on this live stream, I have an absolute gem from the PulseChain community. He's a prolific content creator, and he's definitely with someone with his finger on the pulse. So with no further ado, Mr. Crypto Heartbeat.
What is up, Matt?
What is going on? Thank you for coming on the stream.
Man, where's your marching band?
I
just heard
know.
them in the background. That was awesome intro. Thank you so much.
I heard someone say the other day, it sounded like Michael Flatley. It was like
Yeah,
they thought Flatley was going to come out and start doing some river dance.
that's right.
So,
It did. It has a little river dance and a little marching band, which is fantastic. It's getting me hyped up.
It's got me hyped up too, man. I'm really excited. So thanks a lot for coming on the stream. I really appreciate your content. You're prolific. You're prolific. You're everywhere.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Well, I'm just trying to accomplish my mission and my calling in life. And when you're when you're doing something you absolutely love to do, it's not work. And that is what I love to do. I mean, to me, it's all about inspiring people to be generous. And so that's my MO.
Oh man, yeah, you've become a rock in the PulseChain community. So for people, I'm sure most people watching this know who you are, but maybe for the one or two that don't, a little bit of an intro, a background, a bio about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just give you the super fast version. So my background, at least in my career, has been in the nonprofit space. And so in the United States, I've worked with just about every type of nonprofit you can imagine. We built a company into one of the largest and fastest growing full service fundraising agencies in the United States. And we worked with hundreds of colleges and universities, healthcare, arts, ministries, every possible organization you can think of, from online fundraising is where I started right after .com implosion, and then all the way through major, massive capital campaign work. And so basically all things fundraising. And of course, when crypto hit, I knew there's going to be an application for crypto in fundraising. And that's where it all came together. And, to see this huge shift in the financial system, to me, it's a dream come true, absolute dream come true, because I've slogged it out for the past 21 years. And now it's like a renaissance. And so super excited.
And I guess crypto makes it a lot easier, right, to fundraise, no middlemen.
Oh yeah, totally. It's easier to fundraise. The thing that's so neat is I often joke that, when was the last time you knew thousands of people who are winning the lottery in slow motion, right? And one of the hardest things to do in fundraising is to know who has the interest and who has the resources, right? That's the challenge. And so you're constantly trying to figure that out. And so one of the things I love about the crypto space is I think that there's this underlying narrative where people realize that this is a special time. Whereas if you go to people that have, in the traditional financing world and the traditional, people worked extremely hard for their money, right? And they do not let go of it very, readily. And there's something about this abundance. It's going from scarcity to abundance. And that to me is unlocking generosity. And to me, I think that there's more joy in giving than receiving. And I think that we're going to see an absolute shift in generosity. And that's really the calling I've got in my life. So,
and then you're bringing that from, I guess the legacy world onto the blockchain and now onto PulseChain.
Yeah. Right? So, well, a couple things. I think the first reference is really to just the inspiration, right? So let me give you a little bit of background on and what the calling is. And so I literally years ago had a great friend who went through 70 rounds of chemotherapy for his colon cancer. And just a really close friend. He was a mentor. He was somebody that, those people that just mean everything to you. They're encouraging. They just basically helped me get started in business. He's just been a friend. I think he's the first guy I met at church when I was in a new town. And he just became my great, great friend and mentor. And then I watched him over 5 years go through all stages of colon cancer and then pass away. And he was the person who basically encouraged me in my career. And to watch him go through all of that and be so positive, he wrote a book called Out of the Blue. His name is Greg Murtha. That's a great book. You can get it on Amazon. Okay. And it's really the story of listening. It's all about listening to a quiet voice that directs your path. And I was, certainly inspired by that in my faith. And I had an experience where God impressed upon me. He said, "You will unlock global generosity by giving." And so he showed me the feeding of the 5,000 from John 6, which is, for those of you who don't know the Bible and the story there's basically the disciples are there with Jesus, and there's like 15,000 people. There's 5,000 men, but there's likely 12 to 15,000 people. And Andrew says to Jesus, hey, where are we going to feed all these people? There's like, it would cost half a year's wage to just give everybody a bite. And and a boy, and this is the key, the boy literally walks up to him with 5 loaves and 2 fish and basically says, hey, you can have mine. And so literally the inspiration and really my calling has been, you need to give to unlock the generosity. And so one of the things that's interesting, a pastor said, is it that, Jesus actually took this bread and multiplied it, right? Was it actually pulled out of a bag? Just he had an unlimited bag supply of fish and bread? Or was it that in the first century Palestine, would you go out to see this guy teach without bringing something with you? And it's a miracle regardless. But the point of the matter is when people think things are scarce, they hoard. And when people realize that we can let go and we can be generous, that's the essence of community. And so unlocking is actually by giving. So you let go of something to receive something new. And to me, it is one of the most compelling things. If you haven't experienced the joy of giving, try it out. It's worthwhile. It's very satisfying. So that's the core. And that's all I do. Everything I do is driven by that calling of unlocking global generosity. And it's not for my benefit. It's because that's actually where the freedom is.
I mean, that's so powerful. It's so true. The more that we see that energy, which is take and hoard,
Yeah.
the lower the consciousness a lot of the time. And when you see people from higher consciousness, and regardless of religion or culture,
Correct.
it is about letting go of that take and hold on, and more about, let's help the community, the planet, and the country, and whatever.
And one thing I want to mention, because I think that one of the big criticisms is, well, that's, communism has been tried. It's interesting. What I love about this story is that it's a choice. And that's the thing that's so great about individual freedom and liberty is you do not have to choose to be generous. That's the best part of it. It's a condition of your heart. It's not a requirement by the state. And it's often been said that if a man is ruled from within, he does not have to be ruled from without, meaning the state. And so I am actually diametrically opposed to centralized control. I'm very interested in the inspiration of giving because I know the joy that comes from it. However, I would never, ever advocate for a central authority requiring your generosity. That's a personal choice you have.
Wow, I think you just articulated that so well, because that is the danger of when people hear you say this.
Right.
You're right. They think, well, what are you trying to say here? We need socialism or communism. And like you said, it needs to come from within. You need to, the cup runneth over. That's from the Bible, right?
It's right.
Where you have, and it's not just physically, you just feel so rich in your life that it's not, that giving to another is just like giving to yourself. So that's super powerful. And that's what I've spoke about with other, members of the community. This community is different. The PulseChain and Hex community is not like the rest of crypto. I don't want to badmouth everyone, but I think you know what I mean.
I do. I totally do. And what's interesting to it, I think it's actually something that's core in the human experience. I don't know that it's actually reserved to our community. I think our community expresses it and expresses it and lives it out in a unique way because they have permission to do it. And it requires leadership, right? And Richard actually has provided that kind of leadership by his advocacy and care for people. And when you think about this idea of keeping you from getting wrecked, I mean, he just sent something out, hours ago that basically said, hey, update your Chrome browser. I mean, he doesn't have to do this stuff, and he does it. And I think that it's the actions that we see, and we're saying, hey, if there's somebody that's actually concerned about me, right? A guy that has got all the money he needs, doesn't need to be putting all this effort in, is going to watch out for me. I ought to watch out for someone else. And, it's that pay it forward concept. And it's, I do think though, the tent is big enough for so many more people in the community because it's actually reflective of what we know is true about humanity, right? Is that we should love our neighbor, period. Right. And that's the key here. And what's so beautiful about the blockchain is that this decentralization, which creates this strange trustless trust, is actually built on the back of trusting others, right? And that this consensus that we get into is actually what unlocks the value. And that to me is when you realize that our agreement, we don't have to agree on everything, but we need to agree where the value is. And when we do, we generate and create our own our own currency, our own value, our own exchange. And it's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. And I think, a lot of people just see the surface of it. They're just like mad gains and diamond hands and big bags, man.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, it's a revolution that leads to a renaissance.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when you, I think, start to evolve more consciously and think about others, you see that life's a game a lot of the time, right? And yeah, it's great to get that scoreboard up of numbers, but at the end of the day, how much do you really need, right? And hopefully, I think most people watching this have the same view. They want to help others, firstly, their family and friends, and then wider community. And because how much can one person have? Like you said, looking at Richard, things trickle down from the leadership. It starts at the top. And if you see the leader giving and trying to be selfless and trying to help everyone, then of course you take that cue and think, what can I do? So I think it's super important.
I totally agree. Totally.
So why did you start making content? Was that because you wanted to get this word out there even more? Or
Well, I mean, I'm completely transparent about it. I missed the big benefit of Hex. So I saw a television ad at 2 a.m. Within 10 days of big payday, and I saw this thing, and it was like, people on a yacht, and it was actually Richard's voiceover, which I didn't know this guy at all, but I thought it was a network marketing thing, and I searched it up on my phone. It was crypto, and of course my brothers have been in crypto and I knew about it, and I was in some altcoins and stuff, but I saw it and I was like, okay, what's this all about? And then actually I saw Hexo, and I'll be honest with you, when I interviewed Hexo, there's something about his winsome attitude and smile and just his demeanor that I could relate to. And there's a real blue collar. I grew up very blue collar, very poor in southeastern Michigan, Motor City. My dad worked in a factory, and I could really relate with salt of the earth, blue collar folks. And I felt like, this is where, veterans and hardworking people, and it resonated with me as authentic and genuine. And that's something that I felt like, everybody was plastic wrapping everything, and everybody was being, trying to swindle you. And here are some regular people just kind of laughing it up. And so my buddy and I would watch Hexo every day. And so I got in 2 days before big payday. I did my first stake, and, I just, dipped my toe in the water. And of course, the rest is history. Well, as soon as I found out that Richard was forking Ethereum, I was like, okay, this is it. This is absolutely bananas. And so I went in big with PulseChain, and I thought, you know what? Honestly, I have something to offer. And honestly, I didn't feel like a voice of mine was out there. And so I heard Cece, which is your CEO, right? Crypto Crazy. I saw this guy, this gray-haired guy on Adam Stokes's interview, and he was talking about Hex as kind of like a financial instrument. He wasn't talking about it like a cult-like following. He was like, yeah, it does this thing, and it does it well, and it's really innovative. And I thought, wow, somebody that's, rational and practical, and not, I went into people were harsh to me when I went in and asked questions in the chat and stuff. A lot of young people that were just like, if you don't treat Richard as the savior of the world, then you're out. And it was really offensive. And actually, a guy named Ryan helped me out. One guy saw that I was asking legitimate questions and took me aside and was helpful to me. And then I watched Cece, and Cece was like, no, let's take it for what it is. This is a financial instrument that's remarkable. And I literally went around the internet trying to find his content. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's crypto crazy. He's got to have a YouTube channel. He's probably got a ton of content because he was on Adam Stokes. Nope, couldn't find him anywhere. And so I'm like, all right, I want to do something in the PulseChain, and I'm like, I'm going to talk like this guy does. And of course, every time I talk to CC, we have like a bromance. I'm like always so thankful.
You're a fanboy of CC.
Oh my gosh, I'm the biggest fanboy of CC, and I think it's his accent. Honestly, I think it's his accent. He's got a little bit of swagger, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's the man, and he's definitely, when he goes on Adam Stokes. I think I saw that interview too. Earlier in 2021, and yeah, he's definitely a different kind of energy, and compared to the rest of crypto, and even in PulseChain and the Hex community. So he inspired you, and I understand why.
Yeah, it's authentic. He's authentic. And to me, that's all there is. That's all you got. If you can't be
Yeah,
authentic, you're gonna have a hard time in life.
absolutely, 100%. So talking about being authentic, the Pulse promise sounds really interesting, and I
Yeah.
definitely want to find out a little bit more about that.
So the Pulse Promise is found at pulsepromise.com. And I appreciate you asking about it because we're getting super close to a goal that we've set for
Mm,
22222, which is 1,000 people in the Telegram. But all
awesome.
this is I told you that story of John 6 and basically impressed upon me that I was to give first. And so I
Mm,
decided I would take 1,000,000 Pulse points because there's no PLS yet. And then, of course, when Pulse X came out, I said, all right, I'm going to do 1,000,000 PLS X points, which isn't
mm,
much. It's $100 of a sacrifice, right?
yeah.
And I said, I don't want anything. I want to be completely above reproach. I don't want anyone to give any of the thing. I just want them to set it aside and create a new account in MetaMask and put these Pulse points when they come out as Pulse or Pulse X, put them in a separate account. And then let's keep track of how much value people have earmarked for good. That's it. There's no like agenda. There's no like, you need to give to this or that.
Mm,
But here's the big thing, because I've been in fundraising for so long and I realized that um, people don't have relationships with other people that have resources that believe in the same things they do, have the same passions and the same calling. And so I figured if we got 1,000 people in and they put aside, let's say 2 million points that were maybe one day would be $1 a piece, we'd have $2 billion in impact value. But more importantly, let's say you care about animals, you care about the environment, or you care about sick kids or adoption or whatever it may be.
mm,
I think if you're in this group, there's going to be 25 to 50 people who believe exactly the same thing you do. And so if you had an idea or someone else had an idea and they said, hey, I know I could have an impact on my own because I've got some resources now. But what if I had 25 to 50 of my good new friends to join me? And to
mm,
me, the idea of rather than outsourcing the solutions in this world to people that are just, recognizably rich, like Elon Musk. Oh, yeah, he's a rich guy. He should solve the problem. No, no, no. We're going to solve the
mm.
problem. We're going to solve the problem together. Because if we get together and we share our passions, then, maybe somebody will say, hey, I'll come alongside you and help you out. And we'll double the benefit to folks so that's all it is. It's not you're not given anything. You're just earmarking, and it's really a concept of first fruits. It's, if you think back in the day, you gave the best of what you had because you were thankful for the
Mm,
harvest, right? And so this is that concept of being thankful for the harvest and giving your first fruits and saying, you know what? But there's something incredible about this because what it turns into is probably the largest decentralized VC firm on the planet, meaning the kinds of things that we can invest in that would make a
yeah.
systematic difference. But the cool thing about decentralization is no one directs you and controls you. You hang on to your own money. But let's work together to make a difference.
Oh, 100%. That's amazing. Creating that network effect, kind of like dropping that pebble in the pond, right?
Yep.
And ripples out. And the first, like you said, at first, maybe one or two people do it, and then it starts to build that snowball going down the hill. And like you said, before you know it, you've got hundreds, thousands, hopefully millions of people just
Yeah.
earmarking a little bit to one side.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, change happens, one bit at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
But so what's the website and what's the Telegram so people can check
Yeah.
it
So
out?
if you go to pulsepromise.com, you'll see
Mm,
a video. That's my first video on it. That was the inspiration. And then there's a link to the Telegram, and it's the Compassion Cartel. So that's the group name. And so we're a cartel of compassionate people that are looking to make a difference together. And one of the things we're going to do as soon as the Pulse Chain launches, we're going to actually put up a site where you can come in and basically check in, and you'll
mm,
see the total earmarked against the price of Pulse and Pulse X. And so you'll see this running number that will continue to grow as the price changes. And it's going to be kind of cool to see what's this group represent.
mm.
And one of the things that I think a lot of people realize is that value, when it's amassed in a space, right, it attracts a lot of
Yeah.
people. And I know of a lot of organizations that wish they had access to a group of benevolent, altruistic, wealthy people. And there'll be a lot of requests and a lot of interest there, but it gives you the ability to have influence, and it also has the ability to have a multiplication factor and impact. And so we're just preparing, we're planning ahead. And
Mm.
so that's really all it is.
Oh, it sounds amazing, man. And it sounds like, we're starting within the Hex and Pulse community. What would be your advice for Pulse Chain to go viral outside of this community? Because it's great that we stream, we cross stream with each other, and
Yeah.
we're tight. But obviously, for Pulse and Hex and the Pulse promise to grow, we need the masses to come in. What would be your take on how we break out of it?
Yeah.
Of where we are at the moment?
Well, I think you have to realize that, there's different personalities and different groups and different people, and everyone is judging things and whether they fit in, right? So one of the things that's really interesting about decentralization is everybody thinks that the value is money. The value isn't money. There's a bunch of people. I went to Austin for a meetup for the Crypto Sparbuck 5555
I
tour.
saw, yeah, it was
And
fun.
it was so awesome. And it was so neat. I met some people that you'd probably describe them as socially awkward, right? And I had people come up to me and they're like, "Hey, man, so, your stuff's awesome. I love it." And basically, I had guys that, you could tell struggled socially. And they're basically like, "Hey, man, like, we're so happy to meet me." But they said, "I have more money than I know what to do with." I've had multiple people say that exact same thing to me. And I thought about it for a second. I thought money was supposed to make you happy. And I could tell what actually this gentleman wanted, and many people want, is they want to belong and fit in. And I think what's so incredible about this community is if we understand that value isn't just money, value is actually belonging and fitting in. And it's about being a part of something that is going somewhere, right? And Richard is a genius, an absolute genius, because I think he knows this. And the principle is that people support what they help to create. And he's given the ability, most of these people that just get a bunch of money, they do all the marketing for you and you sit back and just reap the gains. Richard said, "I'm not doing any of the marketing for you." And that's brilliant. Why? And people are like, "Well, you got all the money. You should be doing all the marketing." Hang on, my camera does this. And so what he's done is he said, no. If you care about it, you market it. And that gives you ownership. And you treat things differently when you own them than when you rent them, right? And so when you expect somebody else to do it for you, and so what has happened is all these people have taken ownership and they're saying, "No, I'm going to take ownership of my future." And that to me is the key, because when you do that, you fit into the community. And it's actually, I think it's one of the, whether it's intentional, I think it's actually intentional by Richard. And I think he's an absolute genius for this. But I think what people don't realize is that all the FUD that happened and all of the challenges and all of the people criticizing actually protected and created this community. Is that if it wasn't for all the pressure, it's like a crucible, right? It's something that has refined this community, and it's basically kept the bad actors out. And I think actually we're going to look back and go, the best thing that ever happened to this was all of the people pushing back on Richard, because it allowed the good, honest, regular, hardworking people to get in before the institutions wanted to come over and take control of it.
Oh, 100%. And I think it's quite interesting what you said there. I don't know how he's done it, maybe just through live streaming or the messages he puts out, but I think it's really saturated the minds of hexagons and the PulseChain community about taking responsibility. And I'm not doing anything for you, you do it. Because in life, and there's another saying that I like from, is it from the Bible or even just Christianity? God helps those who help themselves. When I was a kid, I didn't understand what that meant. I was like, what do you mean? But now I get it. The universe, whatever you want to call it, you need to take action and you need to be responsible for your own life. And then I'm not sure what happens. God or the universe comes in and provides you with some luck or some chance meeting, or things start to go your way. But I think he's definitely installed that in a lot of us.
What do they say? If you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's funny. I mean, it's getting older and getting more conscious, but you hear these sayings growing up and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then you start to philosophize more, right? And think about philosophy and like, actually, this makes a lot of sense.
It does.
The stuff that my dad was saying actually starting to ring true.
I know. I feel the same exact way, dude. I totally do.
So we're in a kind of a weird place in regards to PulseChain. We're kind of in limbo, right? Everyone's excited, but the chart's going sideways. We're not sure what's going on. PulseChain may be around the corner anytime soon. What are your thoughts on that? Are we close?
We're super close. You were super close. Okay, so I'm gonna give a little credit to Crypto 7. He's a super intuitive guy, and we had this great time together.
He's a great guy.
Amazing. He's fantastic. One of the things that just happened, and really hours ago, was $194 million was staked for 5555. Okay, and that just happened about an hour and a half ago. And Richard just tweeted it.
I didn't even know that.
Breaking news right here on this stream.
Thank you.
And so what's funny is I saw it immediately, and I was just so excited to retweet it. And then I made a video. here's the thing people need to realize, I had all these people. It's funny, like how many people within the Hex community are just right there to criticize. And they're like, that wasn't a buy, that was just a stake, and that's not going to help the price and all this. And if you go back and listen to Crypto 7's, I think, brilliant video, he's really saying, there's a go signal, right? So if you're somebody that's in the community and you've been kind of waiting, that the PulseChain's coming, and that Richard has relationships outside of just live streaming, right? There was 42 people that sat in a dinner with him during the 731 gathering, and they were not you. They came in on jets for a reason, right? Because they own jets. And I think that, that group of people that's busy but understands what's going on realizes that something big is coming. And that Richard said twice on that stream that he said that Hex has never gone 6 months without an all-time high. And he said it twice. And he was on camera with marketing people around. Beautiful shot was set up. They pulled the candelabra out. They created great depth of field, better camera. It was incredible. And he doesn't say things by accident. He's a very smart person. He knows what's about to happen. And, you look at this kind of buy wall that's been created, around 18 cents and all that. And we know that this run up to the launch is coming. And so if you were a very wealthy, busy person that flew around in jets, wouldn't you want somebody to go, hey, it's time? And to me, the signal just happened an hour and a half ago. And the God Whale just staked $194 million USD, right, of Hex for 15 years. You can't get that out in 7.5, right? So it's locked. You talk about stability and confidence. I mean, so this to me is the signal for the buying to begin. And so you watch what happens. I think we hit 60 cents by the end of the SAC. And I think we see a new all-time high around 60 cents. And I think what ends up happening is we see at the end of this SAC, probably by the 14th of March, the launch of the PulseChain. That's my opinion. And my opinion is worth absolutely nothing. But that's you wanted it. That's what I got.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't even know. You know what? I jumped on Twitter quickly before just to post some stuff, but I didn't see I saw something about 194 million, but I was flashing through the feed.
It's crazy.
That's it. Okay. So it's 194 million just got staked. If that's not, in investing in crypto, there's a saying, follow the smart money, right?
Yeah.
And if that's not smart money, if it's the Genesis whale doing that, then that should instill a lot of confidence in people. And with PulseChain coming out imminently, I think you're on the right track. Obviously, we're speculating; it's our opinion, but I think we've been retarded by the Ethereum gas fees for so long.
Yep.
And PulseChain is definitely going to breathe a new lease of life into the crypto space for sure.
You watch, V3 will come out soon, and I think that's another signal. I mean, remember Richard's been saying, I mean, he doesn't keep things. I mean, he holds his cards pretty close, but he lets us know what's happening, and he tells us, "I'll tell you when it's ready." But he says, all right, we just need the AMM fixer bot. We need the sacrifice totals. I mean, we're really, really close. And so, there's just this point, right? It has to all come together. And I think that it's remarkable how everything in the world is basically leading up to this point. And the reason I use March 14th, besides the fact that it is St. Patrick's Day, is the fact that it is Pi Day. 3.14, and so it's a fun day to pick out, but it's arbitrary and speculative. But I think everybody likes to be prognosticator.
It definitely feels like it's getting close. It definitely feels like it's around the corner. So again, we've all heard software takes a long time, and we know that. But I don't know. I've got a feeling I think we're on the same page, and I hope so, because it's going to be like Christmas. So what is your play when Pulse goes live?
Well, Crypto Panda and I are going to be on a stream eating popcorn together without talking. That's what we decided to do. We were just going to get popcorn, and we're just going to eat popcorn, not talk for at least an hour on a stream. But yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is Richard's taught people really well. Delay your gratification, hold, right? And I think what's great about that is it takes the risk. You don't have to I missed the timing. Nope, not about timing. We're in it, and let's see how it all goes. There will be people that are speculative, but you know what? Honestly, we need those folks in because that's what drives things.
Yeah.
But we're not speculators. I'm not a speculator, so I'm going to just enjoy it, and I'm going to be streaming like crazy, man. There's going to be so much content. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be fireworks. I mean, it's like a pressure cooker, right? It's been
Right.
building up since July last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
So we're ready to blow. And yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm sure you, Hexo, I'm sure everyone's gonna be doing like these crazy 4, 5. I mean, maybe someone even goes 24 hours. I don't know.
Oh,
But there's
sure.
definitely gonna be some crazy streams for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What are you most excited about on PulseChain? I mean, there's lots to be excited about, obviously, but some of your top picks.
Yeah, I mean, PLSX to me is the dark horse. This is an
Mm,
amazing, one of the things K4K said that always has stuck with me is this idea that if the Federal Reserve said to you, "Hey, we're going to open up an offering," and you get a piece of the money printer, right?
mm,
And you go, "Well, what do you guys do?" "Oh, yeah, you change the game all the time, and you add a bunch of supply." And so what you're saying is, I get a piece of that action. Oh, okay, great. Well, he's basically equated PLSX to owning the Federal Reserve. The difference, though, is no one can put their hand on the scale, right? So you can't, it's
mm.
deflationary. It's, the buyback and burn function is pretty interesting. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, every single transaction. So what I'm really excited about ultimately isn't just any particular projects, it's the fact that we're solving a real problem. So many
Mm,
times in crypto, you've got a lot of, smoke and mirrors. You got people who are like hype, 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 hype. And, one of the things that everybody's looking for in this world is, all right, we'll solve a problem. I mean, that's what business does, right? Business solves
yeah.
problems. And so what happens when you make something cheaper, faster, better? Well, it attracts people.
Mm,
Well, because of all this pent up energy and the fact that, small investors can't buy $100 worth of hacks on Ethereum, right? Unless you want to, spend 100 to buy
yeah.
100. And so
No.
people have just been holding and waiting. And of course, Ethereum 2.0 and all of the, ridiculous controversy around that, and just it's going to take forever. I think that there's going to be this combined force of geopolitical things and then this big, I think really the baked in marketing from the system state being copied over and people realizing that they've got copies on the Pulse chain is going to do the marketing for us.
Mm,
And what's going to happen is I think that people within the community, because of the diamond, because of NASCAR, because of the documentary, they're going to basically say, hey, ETH 2.0 is here and there's a cheaper, faster, better way to do it. And all your keys and your contracts work. And it's going to be a whole new world. And then I think something geopolitically is going to happen, and there's going to be a massive amount of value that's going to go into crypto
mm.
because things are shaking in the world. And so, all the people that have been kind of guessing price performance and all this I think they're going to be really surprised because I really do think that the Pulse Chain's time has come. So what excites me most of all is all these people, they're going to see value created on the Pulse Chain with all these pairs. And they're gonna
Mm.
be like, "Are you sure my sheep is valuable?" And like, "Yeah, you doubled your bag, man." "What?"
Yeah.
And they're gonna freak out.
Yeah.
And and then I think there's a whole group of people too that are going to be bridging over value because they're like, "Man, this reward token, and I can get the yield farming opportunity is absolutely bananas." So
Mm.
I'm excited about a lot of it, but to me, I think we're going to see the real exponent factor of the Pulse chain, which is the system state doing the marketing for us, and that's probably one of the most brilliant moves that Richard's done.
Yeah. I mean, the system state copy is just mind blowing, and still so many people don't get it.
Yeah,
So many people don't get it, but they will get it when there's a copy over there, and they come over and they're like, "Oh, I got
yeah,
my P shib. I'm going to dump it," and they see fast block times and
yeah.
pennies to transact, and actually there is value on this chain, and I can make money. And yeah, it's going to be super, super interesting. And obviously, what's interesting is a lot of the sacrificers are hexagons and pulsicons who know that delayed gratification wins,
Yep.
diamond handing wins. So I'm sure there will be a bit of volatility, but it won't be anything like, an ICO or anything like that at the beginning. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's going to be super volatile or?
You know what? I think that it's going to be super volatile. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Hang on one second. I'm getting kind of an emergency call here.
Sorry,
And
no
I
worries.
know it's funny that I'm doing this on a stream, but when your wife calls you like 8 times,
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Do you want to take that and I'll
no, it's good. So no, I'm just leaving a message there. I appreciate you
okay.
giving me that. No, it's incredible. It really is incredible. It's gonna be a crazy time because I think there's a lot of things that we have expectations of what they'll be like, and then they're gonna be completely different. I think we're gonna be surprised. But I just keep coming back to the fact that how many users? Let's say there's a couple million users on Ethereum. There's going to be a large percentage of those who are really, truly going to be blown away by the value that's there, because there's almost $2 billion has been sacrificed to the Pulse and PulseX, and there's a reason for it, right? There's a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, even people that don't maybe like Richard or don't believe in Hex or whatever, you can't argue with the numbers. The economic mass that has gone towards these two sacrifices, people vote with their money, in life, not just in crypto, but you see people, they buy what they like, and they go to stores that give them value.
Yeah.
So people are excited, and a lot of people believe in it. And as we know, a crowd attracts a crowd, right?
Yeah.
So
hey, let me do me a favor. I'm gonna come right back. Give me like 4 minutes, and I apologize for doing this, but my wife's having a bit of an emergency. But I will be back.
I'm going to jump in the comments. So it looks like Mr. Crypto Heartbeat has a call to take. So I'll jump in the comments and just give a shout out to some of the people. We've got Firecracker said, Matt, you're not supposed to say retarded. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have said suppressed, maybe. It's going to, Martin says it's going to be like Christmas for sure. When PulseChain goes live, it's going to be super exciting. We've got obviously PulseChain, which is the foundation. We've got PulseX. We've got Hex copies. We've got liquid loans where we can use our Pulse, lock it up in a smart contract, and still hold on to our Pulse and take a loan and get liquidity. So many things to be excited about. And that's why I like to have like interesting people like Crypto Heartbeat, like Michael Morton. They come on, they give their perspective, because it's just exciting to talk about. And I know that we've been going sideways for a long time with the Hex chart, and obviously 2 more months for PulseChain, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be super, super worth it. Dan Downhill Swimmer says, a really good conversation. Crypto Heartbeat is a rock of the community. Let me bring him back on. He's here. Hey,
what's up, man?
You're back. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up? Thank you so much for that. My wife thanks you. When you get a call like 8 times, you have to take
everything
it.
Okay?
Yeah, everything's great. So
this is live. It's good. It shows people that we're live and things happen. Life happens, right?
It is true. And you know what? You know who's boss, right? You gotta relate to the hierarchy of life. When your wife calls you that many times, there's got to be something up. So thank you for your grace. I appreciate that.
No problem. But anyway, we were just talking about how exciting it is, the strategies people are going to be deploying, and what do you think is going to, again, it's all speculation, but what do you think is going to outperform what? Is it going to be Pulse? Is it going to be PulseX? Is it going to be Hex? Obviously holding it, all of it, and liquid loans as well. Holding all of the ecosystem is going to be, not financial advice, but a pretty smart thing to do. But what do you think might outperform more?
And I'm a big fan of liquid loans. And liquid loans to me is, I've said this for a long time, it's core infrastructure of the blockchain, right? So it needs to be there. And, I had a friend, every time I go to this, a party or something, and this guy's there, he's always talking about how he got into Bitcoin so early and how he got into Ethereum so early. And he's all proud of himself. But guess what? He doesn't own much Bitcoin and Ethereum anymore. You know why? Because he sold it at $1,000. And, and he's like, he wants credit for that. And honestly, it's because there wasn't DeFi projects like liquid loans. And so when I look at this, I even been thinking in terms of people that are in the Compassion Cartel, is like, how do you actually benefit from price appreciation by over collateralizing and give yourself an opportunity to see the future and realize the gains? And so to me, it's a combination of a lot of forces at work. And it's like, having a piece of the action, right? One of my first interviews was with Balliet Brand. And of course, I'm almost 50 years old, and Balliet Brand's like 25, and he's just retired, right? I'm a working stiff, and he's retired. And he goes, Matt, it's like when you take $100 and it turns into $1 million, or 1,000 that turns into 10 million. And I almost like choked on my tongue, and I'm like, no, I don't know what that's like. And what's really fascinating is that's the new paradigm, right? It's a paradigm of abundance. And when I see people that are experiencing this kind of gain, right, and seeing a 10,000x, for example, with Hex, I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't think that lightning strikes twice. No, 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 no. Lightning is striking over and over and over again because the system's changing, right? So I
Mm,
think all of these things working together. But to me, the fact that PLS, which is essentially ETH, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is the ETH, the gas fee of the Pulse chain. And the fact that Liquid Loans is using this as, um, as the core, collateral, if you will, the value, but is it's a community project to me that's immutable and it has all the right, outside of the Oracle stuff of checking prices. It's a gift. I mean, when
mm,
you launch a project like this, you're actually handing something to the community and it's a gift to them. And so what I say to people, I said, you don't have to use the protocol, but I'm going to tell you when you need it and it's there, you're going to be happy it's there.
yeah.
And so all of these things working together, especially with a community of people that I know are trained to hold, because that's really
Mm.
what drives things. It's like just keep on holding. It's like that movie Braveheart. Remember when they're like hold, hold,
Hold.
hold, and they pull up their things and just stab all the horses.
Yeah.
That's who we are, and this is it's cool because we realize that it's actually the community that creates the value because it's this shared community that actually is the ones that prop it up and hold it up, and it's incredible. It's almost unbelievable because in the past you've seen people be so selfish, and this is actually a real selfless move is when
Mm.
you work together and collaborate together.
Win-win for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, liquid loans, like I said, even if you don't want to participate, you don't believe in it, if you're a
Yeah,
pulse holder, it's going to help you out regardless.
yeah,
It's going to help the pulse price. And the mindset that needs to change, not just for liquid loans, but for DeFi and crypto in general, is not how do I get out? Because that was my question when I first got into crypto. One of my good friends, Hex Turbo, we were talking, and I kept saying like, how do I get out? How do I get out? And he's like, you don't want to get out. You want to increase your position. And I'm
yeah,
like, what? What are you talking about? And this was back when this is way before Hex. We're talking about Bitcoin here.
yeah,
He was like, no, no, no. You want to get as much Bitcoin as possible. And I'm like, no, I want to make money and get out.
yeah.
But again, it's short-term thinking. It's not conducive to that diamond handing, delay gratification, and what we all know as well that works not just in crypto or in finance, but in every area of self-development, as Rich has taught us.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that there's a maturing of anything, right? You think about just take any software, right? Remember when, Microsoft Word came out the first time or,
Mm,
a program that's brand new comes out. Well, look now how full featured it becomes. Well, that's essentially collectively the blockchain. It starts out as well. We have this thing called Bitcoin, and then, oh, yeah, smart contracts. And now DeFi.
mm,
What else is to come, right? You got metaverse, you got all kinds of things that potentially come from this, but we're just scratching the surface.
yeah.
And to me, liquid loans is it's a result of the maturing, right? It's a
Mm,
maturing process, and there will be a time when all of the legacy financial services, all of the legacy financial instruments are on the blockchain, and it's
yeah.
just you get to experience this time, and this is where the gains are had, right?
Mhm.
In 10 years we won't be having these conversations because grandma's already going to be in it, right? And that's the thing. We're here, we're early adopters, and Richard always says, the price you pay is volatility.
100%. I do think, in 10 years, who knows? But I think DeFi, I heard this before, and I didn't understand it when I first heard this, but DeFi is going to come in and sweep away legacy finance.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Babylon is burning in an hour. Get ready, it will go down.
So learn how it works. Yeah, learn how DeFi works, and you know, like you said before, it's not just about using it. If you don't want to use it, cool. But to have the choice, if
Yeah,
if needs must, I want to get a mortgage, or I need to get some quick cash, and all these DeFi protocols, they don't care if you're a man, you're a woman, you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, whatever.
right.
Do you have an internet connection, and do you have the right crypto or wallet to interact with a protocol? That's
Yep.
it. So super, super exciting time. Have you seen any of the liquid loan strategies at all? Anyone that you favor?
I mean, I've seen haunted strategy, especially hot pearl strategy. I'll be honest with you, um, because I'm not a chart guy. I'm not a
Mm,
strategy guy. I'm more of a, I'm more on the soft skills side, and I'm on the um, really what's happening on a macro scale and how its impact on the future. And partly because, I'm working on a project on the PulseChain that has such significant implications in the political sphere that, to me, and money's just never been a driver for me, and I just have not been. I'm just not that guy. And so I'm much more interested in making the world a better place for my kids, because I'm afraid that if I don't stand up and I don't stand up with others, it's going to be a much worse place for them. And so, to me, strategies of making money with, different ways of compounding things and all that, it's just not my thing, because it's not my thing.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah,
And it is for you, it's about those win-wins. It's about, getting into interactions where there's an upward spiral, it's amazing. That's great. So let's say your prediction is true, and is it the 15th of March?
14th. Yeah, March 14th is my guess.
We go live. What does it look like a year after? PulseChain's been going a year. It's 14th of March, 2023. What's happened? Have we gone viral? Is everything, is crypto never the same again?
Yeah, crypto's never the same. This is and I keep trying to find a better analogy, but this is literally the atomic bomb that's going to be dropped in a good way, right? So this is PulseChain, I think, is going to be treated as Ethereum 2.0. I think it's going to pull so much value over because there's so much incentive that Richard's baked into it. That it's going to be irresistible to them. I think you're going to see I think you're going to see hacks at multiple dollars, if not $5. In a year. I think you're going to be blown away
on both chains,
Pulse and PulseX. Well, it has to be on both chains, because wherever there's cheaper hacks, it's going to be bought up. Period. Okay, and so to me, it's going to basically be a pendulum that ping pongs back and forth. If it's worth paying the fees on Ethereum, but also realize that PulseChain is also going to relieve some of the pressure on Ethereum, so we're going to see probably better fees over there too. So to me, yeah, we're going to see. That's my guess. Is it's going to be bigger than you think it's going to be, because of issues that you're not aware of yet. And so one of the reasons I say this is, if you know macroeconomic stuff, you realize that people across the world that have had cash, that have been sitting on it for quite some time, are on this constant search for yield. And they're just looking everywhere they can. And there's just no safe place. And so the last bastion of any yield has been US securities. And so all this money is poured into the stock market, and it has been basically separated for years now from the American people's production. And if you see that and you're like, well, how is it that people aren't getting paid more, and they're not making more, and they're not doing better? But here's the stock market going crazy. Well, it's because all of this international money and all these people are realizing there's only one last place where I can get any yield. I mean, negative interest rates in Europe. I mean, look at energy prices, look at all this stuff. And now what do we find ourselves in? Well, the bubble is there, and now we got inflation, and this doesn't end well. And so what happens is, in my opinion, is something that we're not anticipating. People are kind of navel gazing around crypto, going, oh yeah, crypto, and it's going to be, PulseChain launch. No. There are factors outside of this that are going to tip the system over on itself. And in Revelation 17, it talks about commercial Babylon burning within an hour. And this idea that we would look back on it and we'd say, oh man, I used to buy and sell there, and this used to be this great place. And I would just say this, when the stock market corrects about 60 to 75%, and everyone's, fortunes are lost, and they are just at their wits' end, and they look over and they go, what is the hope? And you know what the hope is? Crypto. And you see people already coming over, and just watch where the money's going. And I think that you'll see a massive shift of value. Of course, institutions are putting, crypto on their balance sheets. I mean, there's all kinds of strategies there. But I think that there's a catalytic event that's going to happen in the next year that will tip the system over. And basically, we're going to overnight potentially go to a new world reserve currency that will be crypto. It will not be the US dollar. And it's going to affect the West tremendously. I think the West is going to go through a massive, massive reorganization. And, we've been on this trajectory for a while, but that's the thing that no one at least in the crypto sphere, is anticipating, is something geopolitically. And I think it's absolutely imminent. And that's good for us financially long-term, because I think it's going to put Pulse and PulseX and all these things in a stratosphere position that you couldn't even have comprehended.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think that obviously we know the West has been on a different trajectory for a while. Obviously things are changing a lot. and just printing money consistently just can't go on. Inflation is, before you'd hear about inflation, but I see it in the shops now. I see going shopping for food, like the price increased just from a year ago. Things are up 25% or whatever, or maybe more. So when it starts to trickle down, which it has, down to the consumer, and not just in businesses or governments are seeing it, then I think, this is when the tide turns. And obviously we're on that exciting edge of the frontier, because PulseChain is about to go live, and it's a blockchain with obviously cheap fees. It's going to be fast. It could be a payment system. I mean, who knows where it's going to go, but a super, super exciting time. Matt, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on. And I just want everyone to, obviously, we've got a lot of people on. You're a very popular guy, because we've got over 171 people watching live now. So I want everyone to know where they should go after this. Where do you think is the best place for people to find you and your content?
Well, I think that YouTube obviously is where I spend a lot of my time. But I think the Pulse Promise is something that if you see the vision for it, of having friends, generous friends who are passionate about the same thing as you, you need to get in there. We want to reach a goal of 1,000 by 222. It's really kind of an artificial goal, but it would be exciting. But when you come in there, it's really an interesting place in crypto, because people come into that and it's not a place where there's it's not derogatory, it's not inappropriate, and we just we'll boot anybody out that's like that. But it's
Happy
almost
and
kind of
positive only.
Yeah, it's a nice place to be, and just it's neat to hear people's passions and be encouraging. And that's really my hope, is that we just encourage each other to love and good deeds. And so it's so that would be where Pulse Promise, to see that video and understand the vision, and then the Compassion Cartel and Telegram is where you'd end up. And and my camera is going to reset, and that's about where you find me. But what I'm excited about is, I wanted to know when Liquid Loans' SAC's going to be. That's my big question.
Okay, so we can address some of those questions.
Okay, that's what I'm excited for.
It's soon. It's really soon, and I know everyone's tired of hearing that.
Yeah,
but stables at the ready, stables locked and loaded.
Good.
It could be any day now. Obviously, we want to make sure everything's secure. Everything's, we don't like anything crypto, you don't want to pull the trigger too early.
Sure.
So we are very, very close, and I know a lot of people, it's burning a hole in their pocket, right, when they're keeping it there. But do your own research, but you don't want to miss out on the Liquid Loan sacrifice phase, because Liquid Loans is more than just a borrowing and lending protocol. There's obviously the stability pool. There's the loan token, which has got its own whole set of tokenomics. So sorry not to give you a definite day or date.
Of course not. Of course not. No, and I think everybody in this community understands that, because there's so much risk, you want to make sure it's right. And that's something that Richard has done. We're no strangers to waiting a couple of days.
I heard Jexa say something very similar. Jexa from
sure.
He's a colleague of mine, and also he's on the Discourse Syndicate with the Aussies. And he said, and I get it, everyone's eager for PulseChain and Liquid Loans and all this stuff, but this is a marathon, guys. This is not a sprint. And this blockchain is going to be here for a long time. It's immutable, like Liquid Loans. So in the grand scheme of things, a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a couple of months here or there isn't going to make a big difference in the long run. We're looking at financial freedom and changing the lives of ourselves, our family, our friends, and as me and Matt have been talking about, the wider community, and hopefully the planet in as well. Because when you change, one person changes, the planet's a different place than it was a second ago.
Well, one thing I wanted to say to you before we get off is I wanted to just commend you and the team.
Thank you.
And I want to really speak to folks that watch this who are planning on doing projects on the PulseChain. You have set the standard for how you engage with the community with a new project. You guys were one of the first ones to come out and say, hey, we're building on the PulseChain. You've been super transparent. You guys have been helpful. You literally have spent so much time and effort and energy and exhausted yourself answering questions, not only in Telegram, but on everybody's YouTube channels. You've been available and transparent. And to me, it's actually set the standard for how people should come into the community if they want to engage with Hexicans, Bolsicans, those folks. And I welcome it, right? There are some people that feel threatened. They're like, I'm not doing anything unless Richard Hart, creates it. And here's the thing. We have to remember, Richard Hart created the railroad, right? He created this new superhighway. We call this PulseChain. He didn't create it so that it would just have one coin in it. He created it so that it could be a place where it could literally blossom. And that requires new projects. And so there's going to be all kinds of new people who come. And I hope they realize and take your lead in the sense that they would be forthright, they'd be transparent, they would be genuine and kind. You guys are, and so thank you for that. You've set the stage, and it reflects what I've always recognized in the Hex community, which is true authenticity.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. That means a lot. And as you know, with your team, probably teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Does.
So a lot of hard work goes into getting things off the ground, and not everyone's going to agree with it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But as Richard says, listen, I can only do so much. You guys need to go out there and build cool stuff and help the community. And I think lots of people are trying to do that and bring that to fruition, and it's going to change a lot of lives. So it's great to get some recognition. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. You're an asset to the community. I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot for coming on. I definitely want you back on the stream soon so we can talk maybe when PulseChain goes live and we can see how things are faring.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks again for your time. Take care, Crypto.
Easy.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
Guys, what an amazing interview. So many takeaways there. PulseChain. Obviously, we've got the Pulse Promise. Definitely go and check that out. I think the main takeaway there for me was how we should be involved in win-wins. And, it's not about being selfish. It's about helping, obviously first our family, our friends, and then going out there and doing stuff. And I think Crypto Heartbeat, he symbolizes that in the PulseChain community. So if you like that video, guys, do hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop new videos. I know some of you are lurking and you're not subscribed to the channel yet. And we just broke 3,000 subscribers today, which is an absolutely huge milestone for us because we've only been going for 6 weeks. So tap the subscribe and the like button and share the video. Like I said, with someone who you think it may benefit. You can also drop a comment below if you're watching the playback. It helps us out for the algo. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.